Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Anna Vusic. I am a military spouse and the deployment program coordinator at the Winnipeg MFRC. Even though this is a pre-recorded workshop, we can book a Skype or a phone appointment to discuss the topics presented here. You can also contact the Family Information Line to discuss any arising concerns as a result of this presentation at 1-800-866-4546. I invite you to gather pen and paper as this workshop is intended to be interactive. That is all you need. However, there are other complementary resources and I will list them on the description box below this video. For now, this video is only available in English. The content of this presentation will be available in French and we invite you to contact the Family Information Line to discuss it further. Hit pause and take a break if you need to, but I urge you to complete this training as it will prove a valuable tool in the future of any military family. Let's get started. Road to Mental Readiness, or R2MR, is a package designed to prepare both military members and their families for the deployment experience. The objectives of this program are to improve your ability to manage these demanding conditions, as well as to enhance your long-term well-being. It is meant to enhance your knowledge and help you utilize the skills required to protect and maintain your health and functioning. If we consider that life is a highway, we can create a very useful analogy to depict the deployment cycle. There is a pre-deployment phase with many on and off ramps. The deployment phase, where you and your loved one will be driving on separate roads, each with its own challenges, but may meet in the middle for a short period of time while on leave. And the reunion phase, where you need to come back together on the same road. We are going to focus today on the beginning of the highway, the pre-deployment challenges, as well as the deployment itself. This is one of the many sources of information that is designed to help you in your journey along the highway, and it aims at protecting and maintaining your health and functioning. I would like for you to get that pen and paper ready and pause at the end of this slide to answer the following questions. What is deployment or separation like for you as a family member? What are some things that you may experience, feel, or think? What are some of your biggest challenges? Deployment sometimes can be an overwhelming process for service members and their families. Stress associated with an extended separation and increased workloads can be difficult to manage. While deployment is a routine part of military life for the service member and their family, the nature of the deployment can have significant impact on the children and family left behind. Families don't describe deployments in the same way that military members might. The word used isn't usually excitement. The spouse is now responsible for everything. Spouses with children now become solo parents. Families typically go through periods of recovery and reorganization, with changes in authority and duties, development of new routines, new support systems, and increased sense of independence and self-confidence. For the service member, the challenge is balancing the demands of the mission while still supporting the family. Each family has their own unique experience, and subsequent deployments may be different from previous ones as each member of the family has grown, developed, and changed. Now let's take a moment to reflect. What are some of the current stressors you or your family are experiencing during the pre-deployment section of the highway? The pre-deployment period means a lot of separations and reunions, which can be highly stressful. What are some of the current emotions you and your family may be experiencing? And what kind of emotions may your military loved one be experiencing? At this point, it's totally normal to experience emotional withdrawal and detachment, as all members are preparing for the separation. Let's review this. The slide demonstrates how the stages of the deployment cycle cause increased stress and requires adaptation for the family. This is normal, adaptive, and expected. Today, we are focused on the first 4 stages. The latter stages will be discussed in the post-deployment briefing. Stage 1 is the anticipation of the loss, and this stage occurs 4 to 6 weeks before deployment. Stage 2, detachment and withdrawal. In many ways, this is the most difficult stage. It occurs sometime in the final days before departure. Then, stage 3, which is emotional disorganization, is when the loved one has left and all routines have been disrupted and new ones have not yet been established. Stage 4, which is the recovery and stabilization, is when new family patterns have been established and the family has settled into a routine. Please remember that the emotions you are experiencing during this time are normal. Feelings are not right or wrong, they just are. However, this can cause tension in your relationship if you don't keep the lines of communication open. Start doing the things that used to be the service member's responsibilities so you can get used to it. Consider developing an emergency plan. Develop concrete written plans for an unexpected family crisis and/or emergency. Share this plan with your children. Spend time together as a family and as a couple. Talk to children about the upcoming deployment. Plan with your loved one the day of the departure. What is it that you are planning for that day? Who will be there? Who is driving you to the airport, etc. As well, plan an activity to do after the departure. It might facilitate the transition to have a planned activity on the day of the departure. Being active might diminish the feeling of emptiness. Think about it, discuss it with the children, and do what you feel is the best for you. Ask a trusted person to be available on that day and during the upcoming weeks to offer you emotional support. In this module, I hope to make you familiar with the mental health continuum model. To maintain our health and manage the stress of separations and reunions, we first need to understand mental health and the impact of stress on both military members and on you as a family member. But first, what is mental health? Mental health is how we think, feel, and act as we cope with life. Our mental health helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. Just like for physical health, mental health is important at every stage of life. Now, what is declining mental health? Once mental health starts to decline, but not to the extent or severity of a diagnosable mental illness. Changes begin in one's ability to cope with stressors, mood, and physical health. Now, what is mental illness? Difficulties in thinking, mood, and/or behavior associated with substantial distress and dysfunction. Everyone feels sad, worried, or anxious, but with a mental illness, these feelings are much more severe, frequent, and interfere with our ability to live our lives. Health, including mental health, is not an all or nothing concept. You are not either sick or healthy. Rather, health exists along a continuum. The mental health continuum model goes from healthy, adaptive coping, which is the green, through mild and reversible distress or functional impairment, which is the yellow, to more severe persistent injury or impairment, the orange, to clinical illnesses and disorders requiring more concentrated medical care, which is the red. The arrows under the four color blocks denote the fact that this is a continuum with movement in both directions, indicating that there is always the possibility for a return to full health and functioning. During the separation and throughout your life, many of you will find yourselves moving in and out of the yellow or reacting zone of the continuum. This is a normal reaction to stressful situations. However, it is important at this stage along the continuum to employ positive, effective coping strategies to return to the green. It is equally important to monitor our mental health and watch for signs that we may be moving further along the continuum in the orange or red zones so that you can get the extra support required to return to the green. Now let's reflect before moving to the next slide. What might be some indicators that someone is moving to the right along the continuum? One of the signs we can monitor is our mood. As we move along the continuum, our mood changes, the intensity of our emotions increases, and our functioning decreases. Now, please note here that these may look different from person to person. We can also monitor changes in our thinking and behavior. Symptoms increase and functioning decreases as we move along the continuum. Again, this is different from person to person, and one person's good sense of humor might be qualified as display sarcasm in others. So just take this with a little grain of salt and think, what is your normal for you? Our sleep patterns and our physical health also change as we move along the continuum. What affects us mentally affects us physically and vice versa. If someone is suffering from depression, they will have physical symptoms. When someone is suffering from a significant physical problem, such as chronic pain, they often begin to have psychological difficulties. One of the physical changes you may notice as someone moves along the continuum is change in sleep patterns. It is often one of the first areas affected. Ever notice when in the yellow zone and under a bit more stress, you have difficulty sleeping? It could be falling asleep, waking up early, or waking up in the middle of the night with your mind going a mile a minute. You can also notice changes in our social and recreational activities. As we move along the continuum, we tend to avoid social interaction and withdraw from our recreational activities or things that we usually enjoy. Monitoring your health, take a moment to complete the worksheet, but if you don't have it, a plain piece of paper will do just fine. What does your green, yellow, orange, and red look like for you? What are your warning signs that you might need to take care of yourself? Now, reflect on what tools and strategies you use to care for yourself. How do you get yourself back to the green zone? Make a list and feel free to share it with a loved one if you feel comfortable doing so. I created one because I don't have the worksheet, so I want to share with you. This is what it looks like. I realize you can't read it, but I put what my green, yellow, orange, and red look like for me, and then at the bottom I use two strategies that I have been using lately. The first one is I will focus on what I can control, and the second one is I will phone the counseling line if I need to. Building on what we covered in Module 3, now we want to discuss skills that will assist you in managing the stress associated with the upcoming separation. When it comes to stressors in our life, we can control everything. Put your energy into the things you can control, or in other words, choose your battles. Take out the list you made in the previous module. What types of positive coping strategies did you identify as helpful for managing stress? Some strategies are: maintain healthy lifestyle. Ensuring adequate sleep, exercise, and healthy diet help the body to better manage stress. Nurture a support system. Social support is an effective prevention strategy. It can moderate the effects of stress and can have a positive impact on mental health outcomes. Plan time for rest and fun. Recognize limits and take breaks. Balance demands and priorities. Learning to say no to unrealistic demands or simply things that are not a priority is a skill that will be extremely helpful during the deployment. Identify unhealthy coping strategies. The problem with negative coping strategies is that they come with consequences attached to them. All make us feel good in the short term, but cause more problems in the long run. Apply problem-solving skills. Consider the COPE, C-O-P-E, method of problem solving. So, C is for catch or identify the problem. O is for options, list what they can be. P is for pick your solution, and E is for evaluate the action. Now we are going to focus on a few strategies that have been found to be extremely helpful in managing stress and can be employed to manage the stress of the upcoming separations. These skills are often referred to as the Big Four and include goal setting, visualization, self-talk, and deep breathing. Have you heard of these skills before? The first skill we want to discuss is goal setting. Goal setting has been proven to reduce arousal levels, control stress, improve performance, and help to manage setbacks and obstacles. Goal setting works by directing our focus and attention, giving us direction, fostering development of new learning strategies when required, prioritizing efforts, enhancing and prolonging persistence, particularly in the face of setbacks or challenges, building self-confidence. Using goal setting during separation is not about what are we going to do with the rest of your life type of goals. It means how are you going to get through the upcoming separation or the next month. Sometimes even that is too big and you need to ask yourself, how are you going to get through the next half hour? Breaking the separation down into smaller, manageable chunks will assist in keeping you on track and from getting overwhelmed. Have you guys heard of SMART goal setting before? A SMART goal is that one that is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Now take a minute to think about what goal or goals you would like to set for the next deployment. And it doesn't have to be anything big. It could include things like booking a babysitter so you can go shopping, or so you can go to a social activity, or it could be booking some time every month for a self-care activity. Now, it is important not to set too many goals for yourself at the same time. Not necessarily realistic to complete university courses, train for a marathon, work full-time, and be a single parent during the 6-month deployment. We want to highlight how goals can be used to break large tasks or timelines into more manageable pieces, not to set unrealistic expectations for achievement during an already challenging time. The second skill is visualization, which can be used to rehearse a situation and to prepare for the challenge ahead. There are two different techniques when it comes to visualization. First, we can use it to mentally prepare ourselves for the what-ifs. This is not to be negative. Rather, it is foreseeing a possible problem and working out a solution in advance, which can only be to our benefit. Second, we can use visualization to take ourselves away from the stressful situation and provide us with a much-needed mental break. Have you ever found yourself visualizing an upcoming trip or reminiscing about a past vacation? This is the same idea. There are many visualizations that can be found on YouTube, but if you download the R2MR app, you can record your own visualization there as well. Let's move on. We talk to ourselves at a rate of 300 to 1,000 words per minute. Imagine if those 1,000 words were all negative. What would be the result on how you feel and on your ability to manage the upcoming separation? It would increase anxiety and stress levels, and our performance would deteriorate. The issue here is that we talk to ourselves whether we realize it or not. And if we can make that talk positive, motivating, and instructive, it will increase our chances of success by decreasing our anxiety and arousal levels. Ever notice how we speak to others in a more encouraging and accepting voice than we talk to ourselves? Negative self-talk is those messages like, "I can't do this," "I am going to fail." The hard part to challenging negative self-talk is that it feels true. With practice, you can learn to notice your own negative self-talk and change it to be more realistic and helpful. Here is a humorous example of how our interpretations, and therefore what we tell ourselves about a situation, can sometimes mislead us and cause unnecessary distress. These common misinterpretations are often referred to as thinking errors. These are simply ways that our mind convinces us of something that isn't really true or exaggerates our emotional reaction to these events. These inaccurate thoughts are usually used to reinforce negative thinking or emotions, telling ourselves things that sound rational and accurate, but really only serve to keep us feeling bad.
Patient has a fractured fibula, given a mild sedative, so he can be able to go on tomorrow.
Daddy's gonna be so excited.
All good.
That killed him.
All the boys are calling, crazy girl. I hope she sings this tonight. I know. Hey, Dad, pull over. We need gum.
I'm on it. Oh, honey? Here's some money.
What do we got here?
Hello. Hey, kid. You got to get down. Come on.
Look at the cute dog.
The first error, mind reading, occurs when you assume you know what someone else is thinking. Without individuals saying so, we know what they are thinking and feeling and why they act the way they do. In particular, we are able to determine how people are feeling towards us. A person may conclude that someone is reacting negatively towards them, but doesn't actually bother to find out if they are correct. Can you think of an example of how this might be a problem during the deployment? For example, an email is interpreted negatively and conflict arises without checking out the accuracy of our perception. The key to challenging mind reading is to check it out. Ask the person directly if your interpretation is correct. All or nothing thinking, also called black or white or oversimplification, occurs when you do not see the shades of gray between the extremes. This error is common in perfectionists who believe that if something they do is not 100% perfect, then they are a failure. Can you think of an example of how this might occur and be problematic during the separation? For example, if I don't manage the separation without any problems or negative emotions, I am a failure. The key to challenging this thinking error is to think in shades of gray. Remind yourself that things are usually somewhere between 0 and 100. Catastrophizing. Do you ever notice yourself becoming overly anxious and upset about an event that has not even happened yet? This is when you predict the future negatively without considering other more likely options. Catastrophic thoughts often start with the words, what if? So for example, what if I can cope? What if a major event happens and I can deal with it alone? The key to challenging this type of negative thought is to consider the evidence. Ask yourself, what are the odds that this would actually happen? And then you can also use a visualization technique. Think what you would do should this event that's happening in your mind would actually become real. What would you do? The slide says tactical breathing, but for our intents and purposes, we will refer to it as deep breathing. Breathing is one of the easiest and most effective ways to control anxiety and muscle tension. It is possible for a person to intervene and regain control over their stress response by starting to slow down the process. This is achieved by relaxing the body, slowing the breathing, and increasing the amount of oxygen to the brain. The ability to relax does not come easily. It is a skill that has to be learned and practiced. The physical effects result in immediate changes such as lowering of blood pressure, heart rate, breath rate, and oxygen consumption, and the long-term changes after repeated practice, of course, decrease in anxiety and depression, as well as an improvement in ability to cope with life stressors. Chest breathing is a stress type of breathing. As infants, we breathe through our abdomen, and over the years, we become chest breathers. For reasons that are still not clear, breathing deep into the abdomen brings about a feeling of calm and relaxation. Here I want to teach you the proper technique for deep breathing. Put one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach and take a deep breath. Now, did you notice your hand on your chest move more than the one on your abdomen? Unless you have been trained on this technique prior to this was likely your experience. Remember that chest breathing does nothing to slow down the central nervous system. You need to breathe deeply into your diaphragm. Try using your abdominal muscles to push out when you breathe in and pull them towards your spine as you exhale completely. Try this for about 5 times and see how you feel. And now we're moving on to communicating during the absence. What are some of the benefits of being able to communicate relatively easy during the separation, and what are some of the communication challenges you anticipate? It is a good idea to discuss a communication plan before the deployment begins. Talk about expectations. What is realistic? What each person would prefer? What they each will share with each other. Keep in mind that these plans may need to be renegotiated as circumstances change. Here are some pointers on how to communicate. Discuss the difficulties you encounter at home after you have calmed down. Release some of the emotions with someone you trust. If the information is very bad, have this conveyed through the padre or chain of command instead of over text or Facebook. Be aware of the tone of technology and how things can easily be misinterpreted. Limit your discussion about the mission and consider the impact on your mood and anxiety level. Realize there are limits on what can be discussed by the forces. You might want to create code words if your loved one is going to be unable to contact you for a while due to operational requirements. Communications may go down. Blackouts can be related to operations or equipment failure. This can be frustrating. Remember that if a serious event occurs to your loved one, you will be notified in person. And lastly, conversations are not private, so this is something else to have in mind. Keep a healthy balance with the media information. Remember, not everything is portrayed as it is. The media may have vested interests. Also remember, you might learn about events your spouse never hears about. Rumors can be one of the greatest challenges during a separation. While you may not be able to control the gossip that occurs, you can control your role in passing along the rumors, and for anyone who has been a victim of the rumor mill, you know the impact of this. Now, let's move on to talking about taking time for yourself. Why is it that on the airplane you are instructed to place your oxygen mask on prior to assisting someone else? We can't take care of others if we don't take care of ourselves first. You need to take time for yourself and practice positive self-care strategies. What are some examples of things you do to relax? Possible ways to relax and take care of yourself include visualization, taking deep breaths, listening to music, napping, yoga, gardening, taking a walk, exercise, reading a book, different hobbies, and journaling. Be creative with childcare options to have some me time. Take advantage of respite and deployment childcare services at your MFRC when these are available. Arrange with friends to rotate childcare responsibilities so everyone gets time for themselves or to participate in a group activity. In addition to relaxation, we need to manage our emotions. Let's watch a video about managing emotions.
Uh-oh. It's no big deal. It's probably not even quicksand. I'm gonna have a good laugh about this tonight with the guys. Well, this is just perfect. Stupid quicksand, stupid jungle. I want to bite someone in the face. Mother, ah, that stupid jungle. Are you there, God? It's me, Giraffe. Listen, if you would just give me a mulligan on this quicksand thing, I promise, no more peeing on your shorter creatures. What, you get a deal? You know something? I'm cool with this. I bet heaven has all the tender leaves I can eat, and everyone gets their own Slurpee machine. Yeah, take me, sweet death. I await your loving embrace. What? I think I hit the bottom.
Left alone, emotions will rise and fall like a wave. Problems occur when you struggle with them or try to push them away. Writing helps us focus and organize the experience. Strong emotions really only last for 20 minutes. If you are not able to let go of strong emotions or a specific situation, don't ignore it. Talk to someone or ask for help. Unfortunately, when we are stressed, one of the first things we give up on is fun. We say to ourselves, I don't have time for fun. However, fun is what fuels us and gives us back more energy than it drains, so we must keep this element in our lives during the separation. So, what can you do right now to have fun with your family or your friends? It is important for you to monitor your mental health and tune into your own signs of distress. Most people will seek help, but they wait too long, and the earlier you get treatment, the better the outcomes. Seeking care for a mental health condition is a sign of strength. What is your general belief about asking help or confiding in others? What are the advantages of supportive relationships? Caring and supportive relationships within and outside the family make a difference, including both informal and formal resources. Where along the mental health continuum might it be a good time to seek help from a mental health professional? Whether to seek help or not is a personal judgment call. We would suggest when you are in the yellow to orange range, and the earlier the better. Now consider the following. It is normal to feel sad, worried, or scared at times, but if these feelings are persistent over an extended period of time, for example 2 weeks or more, they could become problematic and indicate a possible mental health issue. Your behaviors change, so you might have been happy and now seem to be easily irritated and angry, and you no longer enjoy the things you used to enjoy. Or when you notice performance problems with concentration and focus, or when sleep is problematic, or you notice a decrease in physical performance, or if your problem starts to negatively impact your life. So if these cause difficulties in relationships with family, friends, and coworkers, or if they diminish your ability to enjoy life at all. Getting professional help is not unlike what we have been doing today. It begins with education about the problems and treatment approach. The same skills we discussed today may be used in treatment. The key difference is that because education sessions like this need to be more general, individual sessions can be tailored to your specific problems. Finally, you work together with your therapist to decide what it is best for you. Therapists can force you to go along with a treatment plan that you don't like. You always have the ultimate say. We are now going to do a mapping exercise to complete your personal resources toolkit, including your own social resources. You will keep this map and refer to it from time to time during the deployment. Take some time to write down your strengths, abilities, and contacts for each category of resources. You might even want to identify a challenge for you during the deployment. Be sure to use names instead of categories. If you're struggling, consider who helped you in the past. You can use this slide as a guide. Here are listed some community resources that are available to you as a military family. Now, while the focus of this session has been on possible challenges of separation and ways to manage these challenges, it is important to remind you that many families manage these challenges successfully and afterward report that their ability to manage the separation provided opportunities for personal growth. Areas of personal growth can include improving or learning new skills, building or renewing self-confidence and self-esteem, developing stronger familial relationships, building social networks, and developing stronger friendships. You can do this, and we are here to support you every step of the way. That's it. That's the end of our course. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you liked it. And if you have any comments or any questions, feel free to send me an email to deploymentwmfrc@outlook.com, or feel free to leave me a voicemail and I will return your call at 204-833-2500 extension 2991. Thank you so much for watching and take care.